to create this ideology and this dogma about who Jesus is and was. Now, more recently, they found the book of Jesus' wife, which is actually in the Harvard Seminary. So they believe now that he got married, most likely to Mary Magdalene. So they believe now that he got married, most likely to Mary Magdalene, and most likely had children, which would be the Merovingian bloodline, which is probably still walking the earth till this very day. I think that the true message here is that we are here to save ourselves and that we are here to forgive ourselves. And you can't move forward. You can't turn on the inner light inside of you and activate it until you learn how to forgive yourself.
This is a Pinguinati production. Yo, yo, yo. Here we go. From Sagittarius arm Earth to the Orion planet. Welcome to your new Earth.
It's a pretty interesting thing. And the book today obviously still has a huge grab on people's consciousness. And because of mankind's unwillingness to really research and investigate the information, it still has a heavy grasp on us and will for quite some time. Even though people are now beginning to wake up and ask more questions and dig deeper into the text and look for answers and ask questions about the contradictory information in there, there's still a lot more work to do.
Yeah, I mean, it's known throughout the dogma that somebody, a bunch of priests, sat down and just wrote down and was channeling the word of God through the whole book, and then at the end they're like, "Look what we've done." But that's not the case based on just historical fact.
Yeah, people who are into the dogma and the hardcore belief systems, they will kill you over a political belief. They will kill you over a religious belief or any other type of dogmatic belief system that they've ingrained into themselves. And the reason why people get so angry and offended and pissed off and afraid when you bring up the types of topics that we're talking about today is because, like I say all the time, when they were born, they were given a name, a race, and a religion, and now they've been defending a false identity since they've been born. And now, all of a sudden, here I come, I show up on the scene, and I'm ripping that false identity away from them. I'm snatching it from their soul. And that hurts them because every single cell in their body is vibrating and resonating to that programming code that they've been given since birth. And now it feels alone, it feels naked. When you snatch somebody's belief system, they feel naked, they feel exposed. And especially the older they are, the worse it is, because now they realize, oh my God, 20, 30, 40 years, 50 years, this information might be invalid. This information that I believe in so dogmatically, that I've held so close to my heart all these decades, might not even be close to the truth.
According to Billy Carson, your religion is wrong. You've been worshiping the wrong gods.
And now what? No. I had one guy tell me, he was actually a pastor, I know you're probably right, but I got to do this anyway, just in case. So what it tells me.
This also includes the Mandela effect, multiverse, and things are not changing. They are different, not changed.
Is this also, which takes me to the second part of my answer. People, the majority, I wouldn't say 100%, but I would say 90% of the people that are into religion and dogmatic belief systems are doing it for one reason and one reason only, because they believe that if they don't do it, they won't survive in an afterlife for all eternity in peace and tranquility. In other words, what they're really saying is, I'm doing this to save my ass. Because if I don't do this, there's a chance I might be cast into this lake of fire. So what it proves to me is there is no true, real love for these entities and these beings that they're worshiping and praying to and so forth. And it's fear. It's pure, unadulterated fear. That's what it really is. And because of that, they've grabbed onto this thing so tight, they don't want to release it because the fear of this lake of fire and this damnation has got a grip on them, and they've given that to their kids, and their kids are getting to their kids and so forth and so on. And that's the real reason why they're holding on so tight.
Preach.
That's right. Preacher, brother.
Yeah, absolutely.
Wow.
Yeah, I mean, you're absolutely right, man.
I would just say, keep the faith in terms of humanity. It's at times it does look bleak. It does look like humanity is falling and failing, and we're flopping around. But when you really analyze history, as I've did, you'll find that it's the greatest time to be alive. It's the greatest time to be alive.
How do you define God?
I define God as the natural spark that created everything in the entire universe, and that same spark that inhabits every single atom in the universe, and that my spiritual source that is animating this avatar body,
Jehovah, the supreme creator,
comes from one source and one source only, and that I'm just a fractal of that universal consciousness, or that God power, that God energy. And for a very, very extremely brief moment before I reconnect to source and regenerate, in the Sinai Bible, he never was crucified. The crucifixion is about consciousness. Being born again and being baptized is having to do with raising your level of consciousness to a higher level. Nothing to do with splashing water, nothing to do with getting tied up to a cross and hung and so forth. I believe that those are all misinterpretations, or maybe by accident, or maybe on purpose, or they did it to manipulate the minds of the people, I think that the true message here is that we are here to save ourselves, and that we are here to forgive ourselves. And you can't move forward. You can't turn on the inner light inside of you and activate it until you learn how to forgive yourself. Had already been copied from Sumerian tablets, the majority of them. Sumerian tablets, the Mahabharata, some from the Bhagavad Gita, some from, believe it or not, the Tibetan Book of the Dead and the Egyptian Book of the Dead. And so they made this remix of the text, and they put it into this book called the Canonized Bible. And then they began to put that out and said, this is the word of God. No, it's the word of man. It's a true remix is what it is. So the problem that you have with the Bible is you have some truths mixed with some information that's part truth, part lie, remixed by mankind, and some information that's completely, absolutely fabricated altogether. When you're talking about hell and you're talking about raptures and all this kind of stuff, that stuff doesn't even exist. But they realized that the power of the information and the domination and control they could put on masses with that book, they knew that they can literally dominate and take over masses and masses of people. And that's exactly what they did.
And what is the ultimate purpose of life?
I believe the ultimate purpose of life right now is to, here in the third dimension, is a proving ground, to learn your lessons, to gain knowledge and information, to transmit back to source what it's like to be Billy Carson, what it's like to be a blade of grass, what is it like to be a rock.
And do you have any parting messages for the audience, my friend?
I would just say, keep the faith in terms of humanity. It's at times it does look bleak. It does look like humanity is falling and failing, and we're flopping around. But when you really analyze history, as I've did, you'll find that it's the greatest time to be alive. Right now, it's the greatest time. We're not even close to the end of days. The end of days is not now. If it was going to be the end of days, it would have been thousands of years ago when we had a lot of catastrophes going on, geological catastrophes. It would have been hundreds of years ago when we had the Black Plague, when we had the bubonic plague, when we had the papal inquisitions, 80 million people being slaughtered for the purpose of pushing out religion, when we had the American Holocaust, 111 million indigenous peoples being slaughtered and killed over 70 years. We don't have that going on right now. There are wars and things going on here and there sporadically throughout the planet. There is poverty here and there. Overall, though, it's time for mankind to ascend. It's time for us to finally pull up our bootstraps and get ready to do the work. The work is unconditional love, service to others, and spreading knowledge and information that helps uplift and inspire people, period, point blank. And that's what we're here to do. And to provide that information and to learn from situations as a sentient being, how to become better, how to become stronger, how to ascend consciously, how to really defeat the third dimension, and then ascend to higher dimensions.